Montana's only daily sports talk show, Nuanez Now. Watch the show statewide on SWX Montana Television.
I like football!
Now here's your host, Coulter Nuanez.
Yo, what's up, Montana? Welcome in. Nuanez Now, 102.9 ESPN Radio. Most days, SWX Montana Television. Looks like we're doing a little weather up there right now, but always on the ESPN MT app. You can also always find us streaming on YouTube and Facebook and Twitch. Appreciate you for hanging out with us. Play to get to today. We continue to make the rounds with the high school hoops. I know state tournaments were 2 weekends ago, but sometimes it takes a week or two to get caught up with everybody. First of all, we try to feature coaches and players, and there's 8 state champions in the state of Montana, right? That's 8 teams. So you're going to interview at least 8, if not 10, 12 people. So we are continuing to make the rounds. So we'll hear from a couple of the state championship coaches. We'll hear first from Tommy Brown, who's the head coach of the Havre girls basketball team. They won their 6th state title in the last 7 years, their 7th overall. I think it's 7-12. Pretty crazy to think that Havre didn't win any girls state basketball championships until 2014. Then Dustin Kraske leads them to 6. And then in just a couple years into his young career, Tommy Brown leads them to another one. We'll hear from Coach Brown. He's a proud Havre Blue Pony. He played there. So he's done a good job taking over for Dustin Kraske. And Havre was dominant in the Class A state tournament, particularly in the state championship game, where they blew out Billings Central 52-28. Pretty crazy defensive effort, single digits all 4 quarters for the Rams. So that's coming up here about 4:15. We'll also hear from Gallatin High's Taylor Cummings. She led the Raptors to a 2nd straight state championship. We're also efforting Jada Davis. Jada Davis I want to have on because she was the best player there for Gallatin, but she's also Eastern Washington-bound prospect. She's a senior spotlight type of subject because she's definitely one of the best athletes in Montana the last couple of years. We're efforting her, so once we round her up, that might be actually something that's a week or two down the road. We'll see. We also have our latest Treasure State Stars. We'll highlight some of the upcoming inductees into the Montana Coaches Association Hall of Fame. 5 inductees named earlier this week. So we'll highlight those coaches from around the state of Montana. And that's all here in hour number 1. Hour number 2, Little Sullivan Award finalists are out, so we'll talk about that. That's the best amateur athlete in the state of Montana. Also, continued conversation about bracketology. Why is it that it's so chalked the last couple of years? I think there is some nuance there. It's not just, the get off by lawn stance of, well, the transfer portal and the NIL and all this stuff. Well, that all plays. All the factors play. But there's some other factors, too, that maybe you haven't thought about. And they all sort of go into one environment, right? Like you can't say, well, this would be different if you just took out one. It's sort of this whole group of factors that creates this environment. So we'll keep talking about that. We also have some football talk for you. We'll talk a little Grizz. We had sort of an elongated Grizz segment yesterday because we talked Grizz football for about 20 minutes while trying to effort a post-practice interview. As I said yesterday, it's nobody's fault, and there's nothing about it. We appreciate Montana for putting in the effort. Sometimes, we have a finite amount of time here, right? We are done at 56:50, 5:56:50. We have to be off the air. So, like yesterday, Isaac Kime was ready to do the interview at about 5:55, and I said, well, we really don't have enough time. So, good producing by Hayden. But we will have a Grizz football interview for you tomorrow. We'll have some Grizz football talk today. We'll also hear a couple minutes from Brent Vegan. Montana State opened spring ball today. He talked for about 15 minutes, but I cut out just a couple thoughts. some new coaches at Montana State. He talked about that, and also the offensive and defensive lines, which are certainly always a talking point this time of year. We talked pretty heavily about the Grizz offensive line yesterday and last week. We will again tomorrow with Samuel Akem. I think it's a big storyline with Brett Myers coming in. The fact that the Grizz lose their entire starting offensive line from a year ago. Those guys were good, but were they good enough? We've talked about that a lot. But what does the personnel look like? I talked about, who needs to rise up, who could rise up for the Grizz offensive line with Samuel Kim. We'll play that for you tomorrow. We'll have a little bit of Grizz, a little bit of Cats coming up about 5:30 later on this afternoon. So there you go. That's the deal here on Nuanez Now. We are coming to you through the Grizzly Disposal Studio. Grizzly Disposal, locally owned, veteran-owned, and the only Bears that should be in your garbage. If you want to make the switch to locally owned waste management today, 406-541-7171. That's 406-541-7171. Appreciate Grizzly Disposal for their continued support. What we got going on here at ESPN Radio. Let's do a Prep Extra. Highlight some of the best storylines. First of all, one other thing I got to add before we do the Prep Extra. Sorry, Farmers State Bank. You're going to get 2 mentions here. I would say one of the most intriguing but also tenuous parts about doing journalism in a small market like this, like Missoula or just the state of Montana in general, is the rumor mill spins pretty heavy, and especially when things go down with one of the big-time college sports teams. Well, there's a lot. The offseason is upon us. As I've been saying for about a month, Lady Grizz are going to experience, I think, a wholesale turnover. And I think that, and I'm not going to get into specifics, but I think roster and coaching staff, I think there's going to be a lot of new faces on the Lady Grizz. And there's a rumor going around, Western Montana, actually all over Montana. Well, first the rumor started like this, that the Lady Grizz cut everybody on their team. I said, that can't possibly be true. And then the rumor was that 10 of the 12 returning players all got cut. I thought, well, that can't possibly be true. So I've been reporting on this. I need one more piece of affirmation from people that are in the know on this stuff. But then I'll give you at least a little bit of the specifics. But as I said, that is this is an entry point to a conversation about what does it take to build a winning basketball team if your basketball team needs to be good almost immediately. And we'll talk a little bit about that in in hour number 2, segment number 4. And I'll give you as much information as I can confirm. But I can't tell you this. The rumor that was going around that all or 10 of the Lady Grizz players getting cut is not true. There is and cut is probably the wrong word either, right? There's just different opportunities that are being presented, or different opportunities that parting of ways. I don't know. I'm not going to get into the details. I don't know if we're ever going to know any of the details. All I will say is that the thought that the entire Lady Grizz roster is getting cut is not true, but they did have exit meetings the last couple of days, and there will be some roster turnover, and I will get into that. It's just interesting when you live in a small town because you hear about this stuff through the grapevine pretty darn quick. And also then I'm always trying to have my ear to the ground to see what's going on, keep the pulse of things. Information, that's what we are. We're purveyors and seekers of information, and we try to then dissertate and express and hash out that information for you. But certainly an interesting time right now for Montana women's basketball, so we'll get into that a little bit later on in the show once I get a few more confirmations, let's say. We lead today, though, Prep Extra, Farmers State Bank. Farmers State Bank is a local bank, meaning they can connect you to people, businesses, and others in your community. Switch to local, switch to Farmers State Bank. I appreciate them enriching lives of Montanans since 1907. 3 now verbal commitments to the Grizz football team. All 3 of them happen to be from Missoula, Montana. On one hand, you could say, well, isn't that just the bare minimum here? Don't you expect the Grizz to get the D1 players from Missoula, Montana? And on the other hand, you say, well, a lot of the best players that were Division I caliber from Missoula, Montana have not been staying in Missoula, Montana. So the fact that Bobby Kennedy has been able to get several of these young men, I think bodes pretty well for the new Grizz head coach. Sam Sermon from Missoula Sentinel committed a couple weeks ago. We told you about that. Quincy King from Missoula Big Sky committed about 10 days ago. We told you about that. And then if you've been listening to ESPN today, you probably heard the Sports Center that the producers put together. But Eli Kasberg, the latest commit from Missoula Big Sky to the University of Montana. I love Kasberg's medal. I think that beyond the fact that he's 6'2", 220 pounds, plays multiple sports, and is a great athlete, I mean, those are entry points to being Division I recruit for sure. But I think the thing when I say I love his medal, the dude was supposed to be a standout defensively for Big Sky this last year. Big Sky had high expectations coming into the season because Avery Omlin was supposed to be one of the top returning quarterbacks in the state of Montana. Omlin had been the starter at Big Sky for 2 years. He was going into his third year as a starter as a senior, but he got hurt during track, and so he missed his senior year. That was a bummer, and I think a lot of people thought, well, that's going to really derail Big Sky's hopes. Well, not so fast. Eli Kasberg led Big Sky to 8 straight wins. 7 straight wins during the regular season, an 8-win campaign overall. The Eagles were in the semifinals of the Class AA state championship, and that was with Kasberg playing quarterback. He stepped in seamlessly, and it sort of made people forget that Big Sky had a quarterback injury. You actually almost wonder, I don't know. I mean, I thought Omlin was really good his 2 years as the quarterback at Big Sky. But you wonder, if they would have got with Omlin, great. But they found this guy, this diamond in the rough. And don't get me wrong, Kasberg's super raw, but he's a good athlete, and he has an electric arm. He throws the absolute heck out of the ball. So I think that probably the prudent and accurate projection for him at the college level would be that he is a defensive guy. But I always wonder, what happens if a guy from Montana who is that raw guy actually does get the chance to sit and train and get real deal, high-level coaching? What's the ceiling on that guy? I don't know. Regardless, the whole implication that everybody's talking about here, the whole storyline, the whole narrative is that Bobby Kennedy's doing a way better job in in-state recruiting in the state of Montana, and especially in Missoula with 3 guys in the boat. True. I'm also thinking about the prospect himself. I think that if things go according to plan, and Kasberg has a normal progression to his career, I think he's a guy that could be a contributing to outstanding type of defensive player, probably a linebacker, right? But what if he got a chance to play quarterback for 3 or 4 years? I mean, once upon a time, Josh Allen had no offers. I know Josh Allen's 6'5", and he also has an absolute cannon. But and I'm not saying Kasberg's going to be the next Josh Allen. That's way too unfair to put on the kid. I just think he has raw talent, and when you see raw talent, sometimes you wonder, arm talent is a different thing. The skill of shooting a basketball or even throwing a football or whatever, that's a developed skill. You have to learn and practice and all that. But how hard can you throw something? That's a little bit more of an innate talent, right? There is, I have a decent throwing arm, right? But I could train the duration of my life and never throw 95 miles per hour. There's something innate within you, whether it's within your genetics or your flexibility or your just natural talent, that allows that to happen. And I just wonder, how many times has there been a great player, a great quarterback from Montana that was nowhere close to Division I caliber in his polish or his fundamentals, but was Division I caliber in his talent. And then he got, because he's a great athlete, got switched. We've seen this so many times. How many times have we seen this movie? I'm just wondering, and I'm not saying it's necessarily Kasberg. He just made me think about this concept, right? He made me think about, what if there was a guy that could have been the next, great strong-armed from a small-town quarterback, the next Carson Wentz, say, or whatever. But that guy just got moved to linebacker or defensive end really quick, right out of high school. I don't know. It's just an interesting thought pattern. The point is, the news is 3 Missoula kids in the boat so far for the University of Montana. I think this is a good in-state recruiting class. Certainly, both Montana and Montana State and other schools, probably FBS schools, are going to be fighting it out for guys like Drew Almquist from Helena Capital, Steele Harris from Great Falls High. I think Cannon Richmond from Three Forks, if he got seen by bigger schools, I think he's an FBS type of body. He's 6'4", 225, runs really well. He does right now have offers from Montana, Montana State, and some interest from UTEP, Nevada, NDSU, San Diego State, and Washington State. So maybe he is a guy that sort of jumps up. But other big prospects in the state this year that are still up for grabs: Cooper Pelk from up in Kalispell Glacier. Grady Bennett has talked about him. He's a four-sport athlete, great player there at Glacier. Lane Humphrey, he was our vertical raise Class AA Defensive Player of the Year last year as just a junior at Billings West. This kid's his quick trigger and is, how would you say, he's a hunting dog. He goes and gets that ball. I mean, he is as good instinctually at see ball, get ball as I've seen at the Montana high school level. I don't know what he projects as. He's pretty small. 6'2", 205. So as a junior, I guess that's pretty good size. But he needs some mass to be a true D1 contributor type guy. But man, he runs well and he tackles well. I was so impressed with his film when I saw it last year. And I know a lot of people that are around Billings West program, and they're really impressed with the kid. Walker Olson, another one from Billings West. He's 6'4", 195, a receiver. He's going to be a big prospect in the state of Montana. We mentioned Quincy. I'm looking at my list of the guys I think are the best guys in Montana. Quincy King, we mentioned from Big Sky. We talked about him last week. I'm efforting these Big Sky kids, by the way, and Sam Serban from Sentinel as well to come on the show. But King's a good one, but he's in the boat for Montana. And then Cade Liebrand from Laurel. He looks like a real prospect. And the Grizz are on him early on. We can get into a little bit more of the top prospects in Montana, but that's your news of the day. A second commitment from Missoula Big Sky in the last 10 days for the University of Montana. We'll switch gears, talk some high school hoops, and then we'll keep it on high school hoops for the rest of hour number 1 here. We continue to make the rounds when it comes to high school state champions from the world of basketball. Check in now up in the highlight. Havre Blue Ponies win the girls' Class A state title yet again. Tommy Brown, the head coach of Havre, joining us. Tommy, thanks for being here, man. How you doing?
Good, man. Thanks for having me. How are you doing?
Good, man. Appreciate it. It's funny because Havre winning the state championship has become pretty normal over these last 10 years of girls basketball, especially when the tournament's in Great Falls. But this group, a great group that made an awesome run, and he defeated the two-time defending state champions in Billings Central. So take us through it. What did you love about the way your team played during the tournament, and how did it culminate in such a dominant championship game performance against Billings Central?
I just think those kids really came together at the end of the year. They believed in their abilities to go out and beat anybody. So it was just really special to see a group of kids play for each other. And I was just really happy for those kids to come away with their goal.
Did you have a feeling that your team was going to be able to put it together at the right time coming into the state tournament?
I did. I thought we went through what we needed to. We went through enough hardship throughout the season, and those kids have a really tight connection. They love each other, and I knew collectively they wanted to get it done. So it was no surprise to me that they performed as well as they did at the state tournament.
Great Falls has treated Havre basketball well over the years. I think the girls have won 15 straight state tournament games at that arena. So what about 4 seasons? It caters to you guys and your style. Why are you guys so comfortable there?
Well, I don't think the arena replaces how good of players we've had when we've been at that arena. But, Great Falls is a little bit closer to home for us. So maybe our fans travel a little bit more to the 4 seasons than they would maybe somewhere further in the state. And you can feel the energy from those fans, and you'd have to ask the girls, but I'm sure when they make a shot or get a big defensive stop and that place is roaring, I'm sure that would make me feel pretty good. And I'm sure it helps.
Tommy Brown joining us, Havre Blue Ponies, girls basketball head coach. They defeated Billings Central 52-28 in the Class A state championship game a couple weeks back in Great Falls. Take us through the preparation for Billings Central, because they were chasing a lofty goal. They have a lot of really good players. How'd you get your team ready for that? And how do you sort of avoid like an intimidation factor when you are playing a team that's gunning for a third straight?
Well, they are, like you said, they're a really tough team. They have some really good players that I had nightmares about. And, we had played them once during the regular season and once in the divisional championship. And, we had the lead on them in both of those games at times and played them pretty tight. And so I think collectively our team kind of still had that belief that, hey, we do have what it takes to get it done. We just have to put a full 32 minutes together. And, special players like Sturgar and Ranker, I wish them the best in their college careers. They took a lot of prep for, and we just kind of focused on taking them out of the game. So.
Well, you certainly took Cameron Ranker out of the game, and she was, I think, I'm looking at the box score over here, about 1 of 14, so pretty dang good defensive effort. Tell me about sort of the defensive schematics looks. I know you have a pretty cool influence on the way you guys play your defense.
Yeah, so our defense is based off of the kind of concepts and schemes of another former Montana legend, Kelvin Sampson, coach of the Houston Cougars now as he makes a run in March Madness. So, yeah, I mean, just aggressive ball pressure is one. And, a lot of teams like to set ball screens nowadays, and something maybe we do that's you don't see a lot is we kind of blitz the ball handler off the screen, have someone else on the backside rotate over on that roller or that pop kid that just set it. But really, it's a collective effort, a lot of rotation, a lot of pressure. We really emphasize the help in the rotation, but going along with that, we do a lot of work with our kids to be able to just stay in front of their own guy. So yeah, that is kind of our style. We're going to get after you without giving up easy baskets.
What was the thing that made you decide that was what you wanted to implement defensively?
Well, I thought, I just looking at Kelvin's teams, they've had so much success in recent years. I think they've been top 5 in defensive ratings in college basketball. And, I look at his teams were just formed up of, really athletic players. They have some length and smart. And, I don't think it's a defense that's suited for every team, but I kind of knew I trusted our kids. They have a high enough IQ, good athleticism that if we just really implemented it, that we'd have a lot of success. And I just thought it's a really good concept and scheme to take, the other team's best players, get the ball out of their hands and make someone else beat you.
Well, it certainly worked at the highest level, and it certainly worked for you guys as well, giving up just 28 points in the state championship game. Tommy Brown from Havre High School joining us here on Nuanez Now, the Blue Ponies girls basketball team. Their 7th title overall, 6th in the last 9 years. So tell us about that part. I mean, obviously there's been great success there at Havre. You're relatively new to the job, so what was it like taking it over just as a Havre native yourself, a guy who played for the Blue Ponies?
Well, it's such a privilege. I mean, I was pretty young and just growing up when Coach Krasky was making his run at all those titles. So, I mean, I'm really blessed to have the opportunity. I was really blessed to be under him for a couple of years, and he's still hanging around helping me out. If I have any questions, he's more than willing to answer. So yeah, I mean, I think it kind of started with him and his commitment to Blue Pony girls basketball, but there are a lot of variabilities that go into our tradition. I mean, we have a ton of families in the community that were former college athletes, and a lot of credit goes to them because they do a lot of the work leading up to coming to us high school coaches that, I mean, if they didn't do that, we wouldn't have had the success we've had. And, very supportive school system, administration, teachers, very supportive community. So there's a lot of things that go into it. And I think it takes every bit of that to kind of have the success that we've seen here.
Seems like success sort of breeds success, though, right? I mean, it seems like you have a great culture there where people grow, girls grow up wanting to play for the Blue Ponies and they know the expectation. So have you seen that bear fruit so far?
I would say so. I think I would like to think a lot of these girls watch who came before them, and it kind of inspires them like, hey, maybe I want to be a part of something like that one day. And I'm going to put in the work because it's really cool. And, that 2014 team, I think, was Kraski's first win. I probably think that team kind of laid the foundation to like, hey, this is possible.
Well, it's super cool, and the fact that Kraski himself's still around helping, I think that says a lot about him as well. So, I mean, you mentioned that he has had an influence on you. What specifically have you taken from him, but also what sort of things have you tried to do to make it sort of your own voice in your own program too?
Well, I think the foundation of our coaching philosophies is fairly similar, and it's actually, I mean, very simple. You break it down to defending, rebounding, taking care of the ball, getting good shots, making great shots. The foundation is very simple, but the ways we go about doing that are different and complex, schematically wise, game plan wise, and just playing hard. I mean, I can't remember how many times I heard him say, tell kids, just play hard. And you're like, oh, well, sometimes that's kind of all it takes. So, yeah.
Sometimes that's all it takes for sure. Well, the defense certainly the story, but I got to ask you about Amaya Jarvis because she had a great offensive game for you guys, scored 20 points to sort of lead the way. So what went into that, and what can you just say about the way that she was able to buoy you both in the state championship game but also just throughout the season?
Well, that kid has put in a ton of time. So you could kind of see that her confidence in her scoring ability and just offensive ability overall. And I think that has to do with her work ethic. She's gotten in thousands upon thousands of reps. And she had been in those moments too. She was kind of tasked with a large role, even as an underclassman. So she had been in those situations. And I just think that experience kind of resulted in the kind of senior year she had.
Who else did you like just in terms of a leadership perspective that helped carry you throughout this season?
Oh, I mean, that senior class, right? Those kids, all of our kids wanted to do it for them. I thought our upperclassmen, juniors included, we got Ari's senior, Ella's a senior, Katie, Talon, and Bree juniors. I thought they really set the tone every single day, and we had a good group of underclassmen as well. And I just really appreciated that. It seemed like they led those kids and gave them a feel of what it means to kind of be in our program. So, I thought everybody displayed leadership in ways in our program.
Well, it's awesome to see that you've been able to sustain this thing up there. So, I mean, what we remember about this team, like what sort of things did they put in this year that you will take forward as you continue your head coaching career?
I mean, once again, man, just like it was so cool to see a group of girls that, hey, we got this goal, we want to go win one. And it wasn't, hey, like, I think we can do it, and this kid, I don't think we can do it. It was just like they wanted to go get it, and they're willing to do it together. I mean, underclassmen, I mean, we had a meeting during the season with the team where those underclassmen were kind of like, hey, we want to get this done for our seniors, and our seniors just echoed that right back, like, hey, we want to do it for you guys too. They got to experience it as freshmen, and they're close with those kids, and they wanted those younger kids to kind of know what that feels like to be rewarded for all that hard work.
What's the reaction been like up at Havre since you guys got back?
Awesome. I mean, our community loves us. Blue Pony faithful, man. Nothing better. So we love our community, and they are just nothing but supportive towards us. So.
Well, very cool, and it's always cool when it happens anywhere in Montana, but especially on the Highlands. People love their sports up there in Havre and all around in those surrounding communities as well. Tommy Brown from Havre joining us here on Nuanez Now. Tommy, thanks for being here, man, and congratulations again.
Thanks, Coulter. Thanks for having me.
Prep Extra probably presented by Farmers State Bank. Farmers State Bank, enriching the lives of Montanans since 1907. Also presented by Vertical Raise, your elite online fundraising platform. You want the biggest checks for your high school sports organization, visit verticalraise406.com. More high school hoops. Taylor Cummings, the head coach of the Gallatin High School, that's Bozeman Gallatin High School girls basketball team, joins us next. Keep it right here, 102.9 ESPN Radio.
DeMorris Buick GMC is ready to help you safely travel Montana's scenic roads in comfort and style. Stop by DeMorris today and test drive some outstanding SUVs. Right now, take advantage of closeout pricing on the uniquely designed and well-equipped 2024 Buick Encore GX with models starting at $28,895. Don't miss this opportunity. Go to demorris.com to preview our inventory of 2024 Buick Encores and then pay a visit to DeMorris Buick GMC on West Broadway in Missoula, your family-owned hometown dealership for over 60 years.
It's easy to see why Montana is the treasure state. At the University of Montana, we look inside. We see an old truth with fresh eyes, that Montana's greatest treasure is its people. So whatever tomorrow brings, we meet it the only way we know how, with a mind for making. Because what's made in Montana is remaking the world.
Raise.com.
ESPN Missoula Sports Center.
A few of the top prospects in the Garden City gave their verbal commitments recently to new Grizz football coach Bobby Kennedy. I'm Jeff Safford. Quincy King and Eli Kasberg helped lead Missoula Big Sky on a run to the semifinals of the Class AA playoffs for just the second time in the last 20 years last fall. On March 14th, King, a defensive tackle, gave his commitment to Grizz football. 10 days later, Kasberg, a 6'2", 210-pound quarterback who committed as an athlete, gave his pledge to Coach Kennedy. King was a first-team All-State selection at defensive tackle his junior year. He is also a two-time placer in the heavyweight division at the Class AA State Championship Wrestling meet, including earning a third-place medal this past season. His father is a well-known local mixed martial artist, and King is highly trained in MMA and jiu-jitsu. Kasberg burst onto the scene last season for the Eagles. After an injury, Kasberg stepped in at quarterback and had a banner year for Big Sky. He threw for over 2,000 yards and 22 touchdowns while rushing for 562 yards and 8 more scores, leading Big Sky to an 8-2 record and a playoff win, the first for the Eagles in several years. King's commitment photo had him wearing number 44 and his position listed as a defensive lineman. Kasberg is wearing number 12 in his commitment photo and is listed as an athlete.
Nuanez Now on ESPN Radio.
Welcome back. 102.9 ESPN Radio, SWX Montana Television, and the ESPN MT app. Colter Nuanez coming to you through the Grizzly Disposal studio here at the Missoula Broadcasting Company. Grizzly Disposal has roll-off boxes for your construction project. They can get them to you within 24 hours. Don't wait days or even weeks for your construction roll-off box. Grizzly Disposal has them in stock and get them to you quick. Visit grizzlydisposal.com or call 406-541-7171. That's 406-541-7171. Grizzly Disposal, locally owned, veteran owned, and the only bears that should be in your garbage. High school hoops coverage continues, rounding up all the state champions as we can and as we do. Jeff Safford's on the case for the Class C state champions. I figured be a fun little, sort of full circle because we highlighted what we thought was some of the he and I get to gather each week and brainstorm what we thought were some of the best storylines from around the state of Montana at the Class C level. And we thought that Denton Geyser, Stanford Geraldine's girls and Scobie's boys were two of the best. So we highlighted them during our Class C spotlight leading up to the state tournament. And so I figured might as well have him go back around and talk to those same coaches. So we'll have DGSG and Scobie for you probably this week and next week, just depending on when we round those coaches up. But we've already heard from the Class AA boys state champions in Missoula Sentinel. Lincoln Rogers and Sam Bigley both joined us. We heard from Jim Sturgar from the Class A boys state champions, Billings Central. And we just heard from Tommy Brown from the Havre girls basketball team. Let's check in now at the AA girls. Bozeman Gallatin, they ran it back. They went undefeated to repeat as AA state champions. Their coach has joined us before on this show because she's been a state champion before, but now back-to-back sounds pretty good. Taylor Cummings joining us here on Nuanez Now. Coach, how you doing? Thanks so much for joining us.
Hi, Colter. Thanks for having me.
First of all, tell us about that challenge. I mean, you come in to this year knowing you're probably going to be pretty good, some great returners from last year's state championship team, but certainly a target on your back all year long as well. But you guys were able to navigate it from start to finish and go undefeated. So what did it take? And just take us through sort of the journey of Gallatin High girls basketball this year.
Yeah, I think you start the season knowing it's harder to win a second than it is to win the first. And you come in extra focused, and I think for us, knowing what we returned, but also knowing the competition that returned as well, it was just a matter of getting better every day, approaching every day with the right work ethic, right attitude, and our kids really embraced that challenge, and they did that, and we just improved all season. And so that's really something incredible in itself to do when you're coming off the state championship year, and we're having the early success that we had, and we had some tough games along the way, but yeah, we got better every day, and that got us where we wanted to be by the end of the year, and it really paid off.
What do you attribute that to? I mean, what do you attribute the attitude of wanting to keep getting better from? Does that come from your leaders? Or is that, I mean, how did you guys manufacture that? How was that able to be the occurrence this year?
Yeah, it does. It definitely comes from our leadership. Our senior class, they had been a big part of this team since their sophomore season, and they had gone through a lot together, had a lot of big individual goals for themselves, and I think they had big team goals, and they brought that mentality every day to practice and really set the tone for our younger group. And we just have a great group of girls in general who all approach practice that way, approach games that way, and just have a really strong mentality.
One of those seniors, Jada Davis, somebody we followed for several years now, and what a career she had. She went over 1,500 points in her career, one of the all-time leading scores in the history of the state at the AA level, and it went out with a bang with a great game in the state championship as well. What was it like just to have sort of a courtside seat to watch her growth throughout the years, and what sort of contributions, in your words, would you say that she made to your state championship this year?
Yeah, Jada is a special player. She, I got to watch her as a Bozeman High coach her freshman year, and she made a big impact her freshman year. So, when I became her coach, knowing the type of impact she had, I think it's been great to watch her continue to work and get better every year and work towards her individual goals, but also just her commitment to her team and how important it is to be a part of something bigger than yourself. And so I think she does a great job of that. And I think what you saw in the state tournament and the state championship game was just, years of that mentality coming to fruition. And, she just has some really special talents as well. She's got great anticipation. She's got a great IQ for the game that really, really got her to where she is today. So.
The IQ super high, the competitiveness super high as well. I mean, the fact that she was, it's a rare occurrence, right, to just be like a 4-year contributing great player. So, have you thought about life without Jada Davis? That's going to be an interesting thing at Gallatin High.
Yeah, that's, I haven't thought about that yet. I was talking to someone else today, and, I think it might hit when we start up open gyms this summer, and we step on the court, and all of a sudden that senior class is gone. I think that might be when it finally hits. But, she definitely had an impact that is she left some pretty big shoes to fill.
No doubt. Taylor Cummings joining us, the head coach of the Bozeman Gallatin girls basketball team. They were the state champions 2 years in a row after completing a 22-0 season with a state championship game victory over Billings West. You got to tell us about that. Billings West was sort of your main challenger all year long, but you were able to sweep the Bears in all three of your matchups, including your most resounding victory of the three in the state championship, 58-41, the final score. So what was it like just matching up with them throughout the year? How much did they push you guys? But also, how were you able to have such a great sort of cap to your season with such a great performance in the title game?
Yeah, Billings West is a great program. They have some great players, some great kids, and we saw them in the state championship game the year before, so we knew. And that game goes to overtime. They lost some, but kind of like us, they returned a lot of their core, and so we knew it was going to be a challenge all year. I think for us, getting those season wins, it can be a strength or a weakness, right? You either gain confidence from it, and hopefully you, at the same time, know that you just have to keep working because they gave us the run both those games, right? Both those games could have gone either direction. One goes to overtime, one's a 3-point game. So I think that really kept us in a mindset of, like, they're getting better. We have to continue getting better as well. We know how great their players are, and so it definitely helped us stay focused. And I think that focus is what you saw in that state championship game, where all those things that we talk about after every matchup, it really came together, and our girls executed really well.
Taylor Cummings, Bozeman Gallatin girls basketball joining us. How about just the rest of your senior class? I know Ave Odegaard's a very talented player as well. You mentioned it. There's several young ladies on your team that have aspirations to play beyond the high school level, and several of them that have opportunities to do so as well. So that part is so interesting, right? When they are able to put aside and come together for a common goal. So tell us about the rest of your senior class and how maybe they did sort of show that unselfishness throughout this year.
Yeah, this senior class is going to be well missed for sure. We had Ave, she's going to College St. Mary's, and Michaela is going to Carroll College. We also had Lorelai Bear before, who had been a big part of our program. She's definitely the type of kid, I think, that was just willing to take on whatever role she needed to for our team. And as a coach, you really have to appreciate that, especially when you have these players in the program that we have. And then we had Kate Manzel, who came off a 2-year injury and really showed some strong leadership for our team. So I think having the balance of all of them bringing different strengths to the team, different ways of scoring, different ways of seeing the game, different ways of defending, really created a great team dynamic, as well as their leadership and their willingness to put the team first, I think is what really allowed for us to have the success that we had with these guys.
Well, very cool that this was all able to come together like it did. Was there pressure with being undefeated? Is that something you guys thought about, or how was you sort of able to keep that maybe not in the forefront and maybe avoid that pressure?
Yeah, it's not really something we ever talked about. I don't know if it really hit me until we got to state, right? Because now you're looking at there's no room for error once you get to state. And so that's pressure there, to finish it, because now every loss counts significantly more, right? So, but it's not ever really something we talked about. For us, it was just a matter of continuing to improve as a team, and if you stay focused on the right things, that success kind of inherently followed. So, to get to the end and look back at it, I think you just really see all those little things that make such a big difference when it comes to the game. So, yeah, I think looking back now, it's definitely a pretty sweet feeling.
Well, certainly a sweet feeling, and pretty cool to go undefeated, especially when when everybody's telling you guys are going to run the table, and then you do. That's pretty good affirmation for everything that you guys have been able to accomplish. Taylor Cummings joined us here on Nuanez Now, 102.9 ESPN Radio. Last thing for you, just compare and contrast. How did it feel compared to the first one to get this second one, and what we remember most just about this group in this season?
Yeah, the first one's huge, right, because it's never been done before in program history. Gallatin's a young school, but also, that game in which we won that first one, we had to fight blood, sweat, and tears through every minute of that game to get that victory. And this one, our girls just had a really steady confidence in the state championship game, and so I think it just was kind of a peaceful feeling to know that you just look back at knowing how much work they had put individually, but also how much dedication they had to our team. And so I think this year it was a different feeling, but equally as exciting, just knowing everything that had to happen for them to get there. So.
Well, it's a great story. We've had a fun time talking about your team all year long, and a good time catching up with you here today. Congratulations again, Coach, and we appreciate you for making some time here this afternoon.
Yeah, thank you, Coulter. I appreciate you having me on.
There you go, Taylor Cummings, Bozeman Gallatin. But pretty cool to watch her grow as a coach. And, you could say, well, she's winning state championships because she has the most talented team, but it's not always that easy. Like, you got to make them come together. When you got 3 college players on your team, you got to make that coalesce. And it's not just the fact that they're 2-time state champs, but they were a juggernaut this year. Some of these scores, here's their schedule. We won't do all of them, but 78-37, 71-25, 67-17, 68-47, 71-20. Then you play Billings West, you win by 4. 71-23, 72-42, 59-24. 71-15. Are you kidding me? You're beating teams by 40 or 50 points in some of these contests. These are conference AA games. They beat Hellgate by 40. Hellgate was one of the best teams in the West. So it is a really impressive season. And then they ran through the state tournament as well. Beat Helena High 74-28. Beat Billings Senior 64-38. And then Gallatin capped their second straight state championship season to go 22-0 with a 58-41 win over Billings West. Congratulations to Taylor Cummings and her crew. As I said, we're efforting Jada Davis, so hopefully we can get her on the show sometime. Honestly, anytime before she heads off to Eastern Washington. So I think it's a good storyline, and she's certainly, it's an interview about her career, not just the season, right? Because I think she's certainly etched a spot as one of the best to come through Montana. Talk about back-to-back state championships, doing it at a high school that didn't exist 5 years ago. You're one of only, I think, 3 or 4 1,500-point scorers in Class AA history. and you're a bona fide Division I recruit. All of that plays pretty well when you talk about a legacy for a high schooler. I think someday down the road she'll be one of those that's like in the MHSA Hall of Fame, for example. That's as good of a career as we've seen, certainly here in the modern era. And Eastern Washington's getting a good one in Jada Davis. Nuanez Now, 102.9 ESPN Radio, SWX Montana Television, and the ESPN MT app. 5 new nominees for the Montana Coaches Association Hall of Fame. We'll talk about them next. Keep it right here, 102.9 ESPN Radio.
Les Schwab changed the tire game more than 70 years ago. Today, we still believe you should get more from less. Like more hustle, less hassle. More of the best service around, less of the runaround. Because we include America's best tire warranty in every tire we sell. So you get more unbeatable warranty, less charging you extra. It's why we're more than proud to say, you get more from less.
What do you expect me to say to her? She's getting married in 30 minutes.
We're doing everything we can.
John, can you hear me? John.
Mountain Town Vacation Rental Management, your local partner for vacation rental success. We provide a fully customized hosting experience tailored to your needs and goals. Your home is listed on every major site, helping you maximize visibility and bookings. And our local team is available 24/7 to handle guest needs and booking inquiries. Let us take the stress out of managing your vacation home. Contact us today at mountaintownvrm.com or give us a call at 406-369-3080.
Nuanez Now on 102.9 ESPN Missoula. Watch the show statewide on SWX Montana Television.
Welcome back. 102.9 ESPN Radio, SWX Montana Television, and the ESPN MT app. Colter Nuanez coming to you through the Grizzly Disposal Studio here at the Missoula Broadcasting Company. The Montana, this is our Treasure State Stars, probably presented by Parkside Credit Union. Montana Coaches Association announced Monday 5 individuals will be inducted into the MCA Hall of Fame. The following coaches from Montana are going in: Pat Dryden from Whitefish, Eli Field, friend of the show, from Frenchtown, Dennis Norman of Drummond, Jim O'Neill of Laurel, and Steve Stosich of Butte. The induction ceremony will take place in July at Great Falls CMR High School. So good job by all these coaches. Treasure State Stars highlights some of the best individual performances from around the state of Montana each week, and we're in sort of that dead time where it's in between winter and spring sports. So there was no real performances to really gauge from other than, like Rocky Mountain College, Amari Nesbitt and Royce Robinson sort of led the way in their season finale when they lost the final 8 of the NAIA National Tournament. Taylor Chirick from Montana State, she had 15.6 steals as MSU moved on against San Francisco. But, the MSU women who play on Thursday night against Portland in Bozeman, that's basically the last thing going. That's the last sports team from the winter sports that's going. So I was glad I would wanted to highlight these coaches anyways, but I was glad we had 5 awesome Treasure State Stars this week that are the Montana Coaches Association inductees. Pat Dryden from Whitefish has been in the coaching ranks for 40 years, including 32 of them at Montana. Spent 2 years in Havre, 2 years at Missoula Hellgate, and then 28 in counting at Whitefish. 25 years leading the Bulldogs girls tennis program. Dryden's teams have had remarkable success, garnering 10 conference championships, 9 state trophies. That includes 3 third place, 3 second place, and 3 state titles. He has been named the Montana Coaches Association Coach of the Year 3 times and has been nominated 6 times. Eli Field, Frenchtown, he's the athletic director there at Frenchtown as well, but he's coached 25 years, all at Frenchtown, and he's been the head of the girls softball program for the last 21. He's winning at a ridiculous clip. His career record, 441 wins versus 98 losses. That's 83% of the time Eli Field's teams win. In addition to 12 conference titles, his Broncs have 8 state championships, 6 second-place trophies, and 4 third-place finishes. So, do the math. That's 17 times in the last 21 years the Broncs have been on the podium. That's about as good a consistency as you could possibly imagine. Eli himself's been named the Coach of the Year 4 times. He's been nominated 14 times, so certainly a worthy inductee into the Montana Coaches Association Hall of Fame. Dennis Norman of Drummond, 38 years in the coaching profession, 35 of them at Frenchtown, and 24 of them he was the head coach in girls and boys track and field. Excuse me. He also headed up the cross-country team, and he's currently now the cross-country coach in Drummond. So most of it in Frenchtown, so a little bit Frenchtown heavy, but some of it, I guess, the here and now, the contemporary in Drummond. Jim O'Neill from Laurel. He's been a Laurel coach and MCA member for 38 years. In his early years, he served as an assistant, helping the Locomotives win 2 football state titles and a second-place finish in track. 2017, he took over as the head golf coach for both boys and girls. He's led Laurel Golf to 10 divisional titles, 10 state championships. That's 6 in boys and 4 in girls. A state runner-up and a third-place trophy as a team as well. He's been a 10-time Montana Coaches Association Coach of the Year. Has been nominated 13 times. Steve Stosich of Butte. He's served in Butte for 53 years between Butte Central and Butte High as beneficiaries of the Stosich dedication, 15 years at Central and 38 at Butte High. After serving as head wrestling coach for 4 years at Central, he was a 9-year head mentor for the Butte High softball team, 14 years as a football assistant. He worked under Bob Petrino, Ron Kennison, Bob Beers, and John McElroy. In wrestling, he was an assistant for 17 years under Jim Street, and for 24 years, he was an assistant track and field coach under Fred Bowl and Charlie Merrifield. While assisting at Butte Central, Steve Stosich helped the Maroons garner 5 division titles, 3 state trophies on the gridiron, 2 track and field runner-up trophies, and at Butte High, he assisted in 2 state championship football games and 13 state wrestling titles. So he has been doing this for a long time, 53 years in the mining city. Treasure State Stars, probably presented by Parkside Credit Union. Parkside Credit Union, a great place in western Montana to get a loan because Parkside Credit Union loves to say yes. Hour 1 in the books. Hour 2 coming at you. Talk some more NCAA tournament. We'll talk some Lady Grizz roster turnover, and we will also talk some spring football for both the Grizz and the Cats. All that next. Don't check that down. Hour number 2 coming your way. It's Nuanez Now, 102.9 ESPN Radio.
Life can change in an instant. If you've been hurt in an accident, suffered from medical negligence, or are facing criminal charges, you don't have to face it alone. At Ryan Miller & Coburn, we're here to listen and fight for you. We're your neighbors, traveling across Montana to stand by your side as your link to justice. Real people, real help, right here in Montana. Ryan Miller & Coburn, your Montana attorneys.
DeMorris Buick GMC is ready to help you safely travel Montana's scenic roads in comfort and style. Stop by DeMorris today and test drive some outstanding SUVs. Right now, take advantage of closeout pricing on the exceptionally designed 2024 Buick Envision with models starting at $39,795. Don't miss this opportunity. Go to DeMorris.com to preview our inventory of 2024 Buick Envisions and then pay a visit to DeMorris Buick GMC on West Broadway in Missoula, your family-owned hometown dealership for over 60 years.
Life's about the journey, not the destination, right? Why can't it be about both?
In Missoula.
ESPN Radio for Western Montana, KKVU HD3 Stevensville, and 102.9 FM on K275BS Missoula. ESPN Missoula Sports Center.
A few of the top prospects in the Garden City gave their verbal commitments recently to new Grizz football coach Bobby Kennedy. I'm Jeff Safford. Quincy King and Eli Kasberg helped lead Missoula Big Sky on a run to the semifinals of the Class AA playoffs for just the second time in the last 20 years last fall. On March 14th, King, a defensive tackle, gave his commitment to Grizz football. 10 days later, Kasberg, a 6'2", 210-pound quarterback who committed as an athlete, gave his pledge to Coach Kennedy. King was a first-team All-State selection at defensive tackle his junior year. He is also a two-time placer in the heavyweight division at the Class AA State Championship wrestling meet, including earning a third-place medal this past season. His father is a well-known local mixed martial artist, and King is highly trained in MMA and jiu-jitsu. Kasberg burst onto the scene last season for the Eagles. After an injury, Kasberg stepped in at quarterback and had a banner year for Big Sky. He threw for over 2,000 yards and 22 touchdowns while rushing for 562 yards and 8 more scores, leading Big Sky to an 8-2 record and a playoff win, the first for the Eagles in several years. King's commitment photo had him wearing number 44 and his position listed as a defensive lineman. Kasberg is wearing number 12 in his commitment photo and is listed as an athlete.
This is Nuanez Now on 102.9 ESPN Radio Missoula.
Welcome back. 102.9 ESPN Radio, SWX Montana Television, and the ESPN MT app. Don't worry, I'm not blue. Even though we've been playing the blues the last couple of days, I'm just stuck on it. I don't know. Sometimes I go through these phases of different deals. I try to change up the genre of music every day, so you have a little different flavor. If you notice, though, usually that day the genre is the same within the show. But I've been on a Led Zeppelin kick. I mean, you really want to know the whole thing? This all stems from the book that I read by Dave Grohl, his autobiography. And one of the chapters is all about John Paul Jones, the great bassist. And then all of a sudden you start reading about, learning about Led Zeppelin, and then I just been on a Led Zeppelin kick. And that sort of led me to some Stevie Ray Vaughan, because they have, some crossover. And then all of a sudden I'm listening to Freddie King and B.B. King and all sorts of different songs and genres. And here we are. But that's why we've been stuck on blues the last couple of days, but don't worry. I'm not blue. Hopefully you're not blue either. Happy Tuesday. Hope you're having a great start to your week so far. We are coming to you through the Grizzly Disposal studio here at the Missoula Broadcasting Company. Grizzly Disposal has one bin recycling. They can pick up your recycling, your plastics, your cardboards, all that, your aluminum cans, right from your house. If you want to make the switch or add the service or both, call 406-541-7171. That's 406-541-7171. Grizzly Disposal, locally owned, veteran-owned, the only Bears that should be in your garbage. Let's talk a little Lady Grizz basketball. I said this, probably about a month ago, and then sort of, not just hinted at it, sort of talked about it directly. The Lady Grizz season was, first of all, let's just say it straight out. It was not a good year. Montana only won 9 games. That's certainly a far cry from their tradition and the success that they've had over the years, no doubt. You also, if you're talking about what's to blame here, because I think people want to, first of all, people always want to instantly react and have somebody that is at fault when things don't go your way or when there's, just overall poor or subpar performances. And certainly somebody's got to take accountability for this. I think you've heard a lot, though, well, is this because this was a bad hire, that Nate Harris was a bad hire? And I think certainly anybody and everybody involved with the organization, it's a results-based business. It's a straight up, you are what your record says you are type of business here. So everybody has some accountability in all this, including Harris and his staff, no question. But also, I think that this was a culmination of a whole bunch of different factors, right? First of all, if you ask, what's up with the Lady Grizz roster? There's a rumor going around that everybody on the team, besides 1 or 2 players, had been dismissed. I even heard one version of the rumor that everybody on the team had been dismissed. I can confirm that 6 players from this year's Lady Grizz roster will return next year. And it's probably, if you follow Lady Grizz basketball, it's probably the players that you would expect, like the players that you would say are the better players from this last year's Lady Grizz team. Let's be completely frank here. I never want to be too harsh about individuals, and especially ones that are trying their best and are really good-hearted, and I'm sure well-intentioned in all these different things as how they fit in the community. The Lady Grizz were short on talent this year. They got to have better players. They have to have better players to compete at the Big Sky level, let alone at a high level in the Big Sky. Like when you were watching them against Montana State, you're like, wow, Montana State has 12 players that would be among the best, if not the best, on Lady Grizz. So you sort of see how far you are away. Well, so I'm not going to really get into all the ins and outs and opinionating on why who isn't coming back. I think you can sort of just see it right there in the broad statement here. But Avery Waddington is coming back. She was a second team all conference player as a sophomore. Abby Schubert, who was is sort of the shooting specialist, and was a contributor as a junior. She's coming back as well. Ray Ehrman, who really played well down the stretch of her freshman year this last season, she's coming back. Jocelyn Land, who was a pretty steady starter, a transfer from Butler, she's going to be a junior. She's coming back. And Ava Cosette, who was a redshirt freshman this last year from Maple Grove, Washington. She was a transfer from South Dakota. She is coming back as well. So all the rest of the Lady Grizz not expected to be back. Oh, Kennedy Gillette is the other one. There's 6 returning players. Kennedy Gillette is another one. She was a junior college transfer from the College of Southern Idaho, and I thought she actually was a disappointing addition for most of the year, but then I thought she played well down the stretch, so I was unsurprised when she got the opportunity to stick around as well. So there'll be a pretty big roster overturn. Then obviously you graduate Matt Koenig, and then you have to replace another 6 or 7 players on the roster. I think this is where Montana is at. And again, everybody within the organization, everybody that's contributed to the downfall of Lady Grizz certainly takes some accountability here. I think that when Robin Selvig retires, then the next person in line is going to have a hard time, no matter who they are. It's big shoes to fill. I mean, look at the Miami Dolphins. I always use this as an example, but the Miami Dolphins have been looking for a competent head coach and a good quarterback since John Shula and Dan Marino retired. I mean, that's like 30 years ago. The Dolphins have been swimming upstream forever. The Green Bay Packers are the ones that have the blueprint for this. Like they're the ones that have been able to replace, Brett Favre with Aaron Rodgers with Jordan Love. Oftentimes when you have an all-time great, it takes forever to replace that person. And so whoever was going to replace Robin Selvig after he was the head coach for 38 years was certainly going to face a tall task. But then, you go with a legacy hire who also somebody that cut her teeth for a really long time. I mean, Shannon Schwein was on Robin Selvig's staff for 20-something years and was an all-time great player at the University of Montana. And so when she was hired, I don't think anybody thought that was crazy. Like she'd sort of waited her turn. There were several assistants on that staff that I think that any of them gets hired to replace Selvig. I don't think anybody's shocked by that. I mean, Annette Rochlow and Trish Deuce had also been on the staff for 20 plus years as well. So, but you go with Schwein, and that's the popular hire. That's the the legacy player, etc. And I mean that sort of just is what it is, right? And then it's not that hiring that started this whole confluence of events that led to then sort of a couple different rock bottom points, including this year being one where you don't look competitive. But I thought that the mishandling of the firing of Schwein, and then sort of the combination of the interim status that Mike Petrino coached under for a long time, but then the confluence with the pandemic, I think that really set the program back a step or two. And then Brian Holsinger gets it going a little bit, but then he leaves in a fit of scandal, and you have this assault of a staff member, and there has to be this parting of ways, but it doesn't end up being a firing because he basically resigns. It's just a crazy. All these different things led to then this year. So when you're saying, okay, well, a lot of the players that were expected to be high contributors this year just didn't pan out, or like some of these players that the Lady Grizz staff brought in just weren't good enough. I think there's a lot of different misses in recruiting, either players that weren't recruited at all or players that Montana did not get. That I think that if they do get those players or they do recruit those players, things maybe go differently. And you wonder if this current staff, that's led by Nate Harris, who's from Ronan, and Lindsey Woolley, who's from Missoula. You have to wonder if those guys know that they want to recruit Montana girls, right? Like their first recruiting class includes several girls from Montana. They have Avery DeCoy already signed. They have Cam Ranker from Billings Central already signed. They had a commitment last week from Maisie Hingham-Prinky from Billings West. She's a 2027 player. So they're recruiting Montana better. But you wonder if somebody like Courtney Grossman moves on and goes out of state to Eastern Washington, if these guys are at the head of Lady Grizz instead of the past coaching staff. Grossman's from Billings, and maybe she does. I mean, I think Jody Gleason's a great coach. I think Eastern has a good program. But like right now, there's 3 girls from Montana that go to Eastern Washington. If this staff was the staff when those girls were like prime in recruiting, even just last year or 2 years ago, like would they be going out of state? I don't know. So again, there's all sorts of reasons to be critical of Montana women's basketball. But if you are Nate Harris and his staff, you have to turn the page from this season as quickly as possible, and you have to just get a better roster. So, while it might be harsh to have, a parting of ways for, 6-7 players on your team, okay. It is. It is probably harsh and blunt and all that. It's also a cutthroat business, and he's on a 3-year contract, but if he has another year like this year, I think Montana's going to have a hard time saying, we're sticking with this hire. They got to be better next year. And I think everybody in the organization, including the staff, knows that. So I think that what now it is what it is. I think that the other thing is in modern day college basketball, with the emergence of revenue sharing and the fact that the Lady Grizz still draw really well, the fact that they're going to be able to have a revenue sharing budget that's probably on par with or superior to most of the teams in the Big Sky Conference, you can remake the roster pretty dang fast. And if you're building around, honestly, I could talk about the talent being lacking, but Waddington's a great player. She's a second-team All-Big Sky talent. I think Ray Ehrman showed some great flashes the second half of conference play and in the conference tournament. As a freshman, like she could develop into a really good player. I think. I think Land is a functional Division I player. So like you have a roster, at least a few. They can start building, but if you add then better talent, like if you add several starter caliber players, I think that's what Lady Grizz probably need to go after 3 to 4 starting caliber players to put around Waddington. Then I think you have the ability to maybe be more competitive next year. And I think when you can turn the roster over like this, again, like I always say, don't hate the player, hate the game. If you don't like the state of affairs and the massive roster overturn and the cutthroat nature of the business and all that, well, that's not the Lady Grizz or anybody in Montana's fault. It's nothing of our doing. That's just the system that exists currently. And so this is the world we live in, right? But if you can go get a roster and you can be competitive with most of the schools in the West, and you can get good players because of the ability to have that revenue share NIL money to distribute right away, you can go upgrade your roster in pretty short order. If you're saying, well, why didn't Harrison Woolley do this last year? Well, I think that the whole parting of ways with Holsinger was such a mess, and then there was such a debate over the coaching search, and then everybody was late in recruiting, and so you have a guy that's basically fired, that's moving on, and then you have an interim coach who's fighting for his job. You got some other worthy candidates, including Jordan Sullivan, who was one of the leading candidates with Harris to be the Lady Grizz head coach. But then it just impacts it impacts the stability or lack thereof of your program. It impacts the stability or lack thereof of your recruiting. And so I just think all of these things are sort of symptoms and side effects of what we've already seen here over the last 10 or 11 years for Lady Grizz basketball. So again, I don't know if this is the right answer or not, but I just feel like if you are in the situation Lady Grizz are in, a big time of turnover, an opportunity to have sort of self-mandated turnover, the ability to upgrade your roster when you really have to, especially if you want to make sure that you build momentum to be better, like all that. There's a lot of different ways to go about it, but what the Lady Grizz did today, or did the last couple of days, I think is what they have to do. Or at least it is a move. It's a move that you can understand the motivation if you understand all the circumstances around it. I'll leave it at that. Nuanez Now, 102.9 ESPN Radio, SWX Montana Television, and the ESPN MT app. Colter Nuanez coming to you through the Grizzly Disposal Studio here at the Missoula Broadcasting Company. It's a Tuesday. That means it's a Tag Tuesday. We got Tag Deli for you. They have the most delicious and consistent sandwiches in the Garden City, or anywhere in the state of Montana for that matter. They also have a wonderful Italian-style market of each of their 2 delis. One located on Wyoming Street in the Sawmill District. The other located Beckwith and Higgins in close to downtown Missoula. We give you a chance to win $25 from Tag every Tuesday here on Nuanez Now, including today. Text us 406-888-1029. That's 888-1029. Text us, let us know, and each and every text will get you entered in to win a gift card to Taglieri Deli. Tag Tuesday every Tuesday here on Nuanez Now. Finalists for the Montana AAU Little Sullivan Award are out. This is given to the top amateur athlete in Montana, which, since we don't have real pro sports besides Pioneer League Baseball, basically the Little Sullivan is the athlete of the year in Montana because all the athletes in Montana are amateurs, basically. Here's the finalists. On the women's side, Eliza Bentler, who was a soccer player at University of Montana. She's from Billings. Haley Coey, track and field athlete at Montana State. She's also from Billings. Hanaya Halverson, wrestling at Colorado Mesa. She's from Kalispell. Marley Nieto, a softball player from Montana State Billings. She's from Billings. So those are your 5 finalists. Who's the leading candidate? I don't know. I think that there's some pretty good nominees there. Haley Coey being a national championship qualifier in long jump the last couple of years, all-time Big Sky Conference record holder in the long jump. That's pretty good resume. That's pretty good. When Eliza Bentler, though, was on 3 straight Big Sky Conference championship teams for the University of Montana, so that's certainly a good one as well. I don't know much about Hanaya Halverson, the wrestler, or Marley Nito, the softball player, but I'll find out more. And maybe we'll have a couple of these folks on the show because this is a high honor even just to be nominated. The Little Sullivan finalists for men, Taco Dowler, football player at Montana State. He's from Billings. Cole Denton, rodeo cowboy at Montana State. He's from Great Falls. Connor Ralph, who's United States Olympic freestyle ski team. He's from Helena. Jake Sanderson, who is on the United States gold medal winning hockey team. He hails from Whitefish. Man, Taco Dowler is the most famous of all those guys, but how do you not give it to the guy who won the gold medal with the U.S. Olympic team in hockey? Or the guy that, came down to it and almost made the podium in the Olympics in free skiing? Those are all really good nominees, honestly. But pretty cool that the Little Sullivan Award is back for another year. A Little Sullivan Banquet scheduled for Saturday, May 2nd at the Doubletree in downtown Billings. There'll be a meet and greet with the athletes at 5:30, and then the banquet starts at 7. So we'll catch you up on all that as it gets a little closer. Last year's Little Sullivan Awards, Ben Perrin, who's a Kalispell product who ran track at Montana State, and Skylee Thompson, who's also a Kalispell product. She played soccer at the University of Montana. Pretty cool with the Grizz soccer team that they've put a couple young ladies on that list because, you have to be from Montana. And that was a sport where Grizz have had soccer, but they have had, they've had some smattering of Montana talent, but not a ton. And now they're getting more Montana talent, and Bentler, one of them, right? Reagan Brizendine is still on the squad. Skylee Thompson she was an outstanding player from Kalispell. Ashlyn Dvorak's from Billings, the goalkeeper. She actually transferred, but she was a great player for Grizz soccer. So just sort of cool to see them getting recognized amongst their athletic peers here in the state of Montana. Take a break and come back, and we'll talk some spring football. Grizz and Bobcats. I got thoughts on both sides. That's next. Keep it right here. 102.9 ESPN Radio.
What do you expect me to say to her? She's getting married in 30 minutes.
We're doing everything we can.
John, can you hear me? John.
At Shields, we're anglers, endlessly seeking and refining techniques. We're hunters and storytellers because we've been out there. We're experts that put products and gear to the test so we can share that knowledge with you. At Shields, we understand your outdoor journey and the path you're on because we walk it too, every step of the way. Shields, right there with you.
Mountain Town Vacation Rental Management, your local partner for vacation rental success. We provide a fully customized hosting experience tailored to your needs and goals. Your home is listed on every major site, helping you maximize visibility and bookings. And our local team is available 24/7 to handle guest needs and booking inquiries. Let us take the stress out of managing your vacation home. Contact us today at mountaintownvrm.com or give us a call at 406-369-3080.
The rare moments in life, they're not just few and far between. They're meant to be treasured.
Bring the whole family to the Stone of Accord for a wonderful brunch. From traditional comfort food to eclectic specials, there's something for everyone to enjoy. And it wouldn't be a proper Missoula brunch without an Irish coffee and a mimosa. The Stone of Accord, Irish fare with Montana flair. Restaurant, liquor store, and casino. At the Stone of Accord, we use the freshest ingredients to create our homemade traditional Irish classics, fresh salads, and creative specials. Come enjoy our warm, family-friendly atmosphere. The Stone of Accord, Irish fare with Montana flair. Restaurant, liquor store, and casino.
ESPN Missoula Sports Center.
A few of the top prospects in the Garden City gave their verbal commitments recently to new Grizz football coach Bobby Kennedy. I'm Jeff Safford. Quincy King and Eli Kasberg helped lead Missoula Big Sky on a run to the semifinals of the Class AA playoffs for just the second time in the last 20 years last fall. On March 14th, King, a defensive tackle, gave his commitment to Grizz football. 10 days later, Kasberg, a 6'2", 210-pound quarterback who committed as an athlete, gave his pledge to Coach Kennedy. King was a first-team All-State selection at defensive tackle his junior year. He is also a two-time placer in the heavyweight division at the Class AA State Championship wrestling meet, including earning a third-place medal this past season. His father is a well-known local mixed martial artist, and King is highly trained in MMA and jiu-jitsu. Kasberg burst onto the scene last season for the Eagles. After an injury, Kasberg stepped in at quarterback and had a banner year for Big Sky. He threw for over 2,000 yards and 22 touchdowns while rushing for 562 yards and 8 more scores, leading Big Sky to an 8-2 record and a playoff win, the first for the Eagles in several years. King's commitment photo had him wearing number 44 and his position listed as a defensive lineman. Kasberg is wearing number 12 in his commitment photo and is listed as an athlete.
Nuanez Now on ESPN Radio.
Welcome back. Oh, it's that one tonight, ESPN Radio. You ever heard that song? Howlin' Wolf is who it's by. I actually never heard it till today. Thought it was pretty rad. Thanks for indulging me on my blues kick. Appreciate you for hanging. Thanks so much for being here. We're coming to you through the Grizzly Disposal studio here at the Missoula Broadcasting Company. Grizzly Disposal, locally owned, veteran owned, and the only Bears that should be in your garbage. We talked about the players on the Grizz offensive line. Actually, a couple times in recent days, it's been something that I've been ruminating on. The Grizz, I think that it's interesting because sometimes if change is wholesale, it's actually like this whole new, brand new opportunity, and it gives everybody a fresh start. Like usually, there's two ways to look at this, right? You lose 6 offensive linemen that were seniors last year for the Grizz, including all league players like Cannon Pampholoff and Liam Brown. that, I think, on one hand, could make people think, well, the Grizz aren't going to be very good on the offensive line next year. On the other hand, though, they might be able to form a sort of a newfound unit. And the fact is that they have a whole bunch of younger guys that have been within their program. And I think this is a huge litmus test for the Grizz. They have a whole bunch of offensive linemen that have been within the program. They've been training and lifting and putting on the weight, waiting their turn. Well, if those guys have good talent and good pedigree, then you'd think that the next part is they need to be coached up and they need to gain experience in games. Well, the Grizz have a new offensive line coach, but he's a proven offensive line coach in Brent Myers. He's been around the sport for almost 50 years. He's coached a whole bunch of great offensive lines at Weber State over the last decade plus. And Weber used a very similar formula to Montana State to sort of build really good offensive lines, right? First of all, you got to recruit well. Easier said than done, but you have to have the talent there, right? But then you got to develop the guys. But then when they have the mass and the strength to play, you throw them in. You let them cut their teeth in live action. You throw them to the wolves. Throw them in the deep end, so to speak. Well, how does that translate then for Montana this year? Like, I think they have some guys like Lucas Freitas, Austin Beeler, guys that have been around, right? So if those guys, if the talent evaluation was correct, and then those guys have been putting in the work, then the next step is they need to be taught and coached up, and then they need to be able to perform in games. Well, because there's a new opportunity, like one of those guys have been sitting there waiting their turn because they weren't quite ready yet, then they become ready. I think we forget about that part of college sports now because everybody's either supposed to be plug and play, ready to go right away, or they're a transfer that's brought in as a plug and play. But like there's times, like some guys start out really talented, you could see flashes, and then all of a sudden, like when that guy becomes good, well, you could see it coming. But there's also other times when guys are nowhere close to being ready to play in Division I games. And then they all of a sudden become ready because they have a great offseason, or they have a maturation that's either physical or mental or both. They turn a corner. They start settling in, right? Like Dylan Cook went from a walk-on for the Grizz at the offensive line to then an all-conference guy to then all of a sudden now he's starting for the Pittsburgh Steelers down the stretch this last year. You can turn a corner and then get locked in and become something great. So I don't know if the Grizz have anybody on their roster right now, but I do think the turnover is actually a new sort of it's a fresh start for everybody involved. And I think that that just comes with maybe a little bit of optimism, but you got to take advantage of it, right? I'm just so interested to see how Brent Myers can mold that unit. I don't know how to evaluate him until I see him coach up close and personal, but I was always very impressed with his offensive lines at Weber State. He had some really good offensive linemen individually. I mean, even though Weber's not been very good the last couple of years, I mean, their best player, Gavin Ortega, has been an offensive lineman. I mean, he's been a multiple-time first-team all-conference guy. If the Grizz had that guy or the Cats had that guy, they'd be happy to have that guy. So, Myers has developed other guys like Sua Opeta, who still played in the NFL. They've had some good players. But then it's going to harken the question, too. Like, I think we know that Brent Myers can teach and coach and develop guys. So then if the guys that the Grizz have had in their program for the last however many years are falling short, is that because the talent evaluation was poor and you got to give some grace because it's a new staff? Or is that because the development wasn't up to par? There's just a lot of things that go into it, but I think this is a great opportunity for a whole bunch of the young offensive linemen for Montana to sort of to prove their way. On the defensive side of the ball at Montana State, it's a similar narrative, but it's a different narrative. And this is what's interesting. Like when you have real stability as a program, and you are standing on really solid ground like MSU is right now, then when you have these narratives, they're not nearly as pressing or profound because there's proof of concept, right? The Cats are going to graduate 4 defensive linemen. 2 of those guys, Paul Brott, an interior guy, Kenneth Hyde, an outside guy, were 2 of the best players in the Big Sky. They're first-team all-conference guys. Alec Eckert, another inside guy. Hunter Parsons, another outside guy. Those two guys were both honorable mention all-conference guys, so really solid, right? And they were multi-year starters on the front. I guess Parsons was a one-year starter, but Eckert was a multi-year starter. Brott was a multi-year starter. Iden was a 3-year sort of star guy. I mean, he played ever since his freshman year, but he was like a real standout for 3 years. So, again, on one hand, you can look at that for MSU and say, man, that's a lot to replace. It's a big page to turn. On the other hand, you can say they have a formula for getting guys ready, right? Like when they lost Brody Grebe and Blake Schmidt, didn't miss a beat, right? And then that's because they have this proof of concept because they play so many guys on the defensive line. Like Paul Brott and Kenneth Iden are only playing a little bit more in terms of total snap count in the game than some of the guys that are backing them up. So, again, is Talon Marsh or any of the other guys that are on the interior of Montana State's defensive line, Hunter Charbonneau is another name you'll hear a lot about. Are they as good as Paul Brott? Probably not. But they've had a bunch of guys that have played in games. Like Zach Cruz has been sort of like the third defensive end. He's contributed a ton. He played almost as much as Parsons did a year ago. He's put up numbers. He's had sacks in games. Dom Solano, he had a sack against the Grizz in Missoula. And he's sort of like the next guy in line at defensive end. So, again, can he match Iden's production? I'm not sure. But even if the answer is no, there's still proof of concept that they've been able to reload on the defensive front, and you never know who's going to come along. I think Seth Brock is another guy that could have a big time breakout year. I thought he showed great talent last year. I mean, he's got a great frame. He's a long, lean. He's got good hips. He can bend. He's got explosiveness. All that stuff. So, what I'm getting at is, I think that you can look at it either way. Like when you lose everybody on your offensive line like the Grizz, or you lose everybody on the defensive line like the Cats, oh no, what are we going to do? How are we going to rebuild these units? Or fresh start. Like for the Grizz, I think that's where you're at. It's a fresh start. You have new coach, new head coach, new offensive line coach, a whole bunch of guys. Like there's probably 10 or 11 guys that are really buying for that top unit right now during spring. That's a good opportunity if you capitalize on it. On the Bobcat side, I think it's more you lean into, well, we're not sure who's going to rise to the occasion or like how many guys it's going to take to replicate the production of the guys that we've had in the past. But we've played so many guys, and we sort of think that the guys that are next up are going to be ready and going to be able to shift in there and try to replicate, at least some semblance of the production. But I think you have confidence in it just because of the proof of concept, the fact that you've done it before. But it is still a huge question mark for Montana State, right? I mean, there's all these narratives right now about how the Cats are, going to be super favored to repeat. And I get that because they only lose 9 seniors from last year's national championship team. But 4 of those seniors are on the defensive line. That's a huge part of their team. The stud young corners that really helped boost the defense up last year for MSU, they were really talented, but they were also able to thrive because they had 4 dogs up front. They were taking care of business for them. They also had a dog inside linebacker in Cole Taylor. And he's back. But I think that's the narrative that the Cats are going to have to shoulder is they are projected as the favorites in everybody's poll. They're going to be the unanimous preseason #1 team. With North Dakota State moving on to the FBS and Montana State coming off a national championship, they're going to be near, if not unquestionably, unanimous in the first preseason poll. So how do they handle that? It's one thing to say we want to be the team that breaks a 40-plus year streak of no national championships. We want to be a team that ends this generations of suffering for the Bobcat Nation, et cetera, et cetera. We want to be the team that gets over the top against one of the Dakota State schools. It's a totally different narrative when you're the team with the target on your back, right? Like that's like the dichotomy between the Cats and the Grizz coming into this year. The Grizz, I think there's a lot of people supporting the regime change, but I think there's also a lot of people that are skeptical and wondering, well, what's going to happen when you part ways with the all-time winningest coach in the history of the school and the history of the league, for that matter. But I think that there's also an element where they're playing with house money. There's optimism, but there's also a lot of momentum. There's a lot of positivity. And also, I think you're thinking, like, does the expectation change, at least from the fan base, for what is the measurement of success for the Grizz this year? Like last year, there was so much pressure on Montana to beat everybody on their schedule, including Montana State. And they beat everybody on their schedule except Montana State. This year, there's always pressure for the Grizz to win every game, but I do think they're going to get a little bit more grace. So maybe that means they're playing with a little bit of house money, and that'll keep them loose. They can let it roll. I don't know. There's all sorts of different ways this upcoming Grizz season could go, and that's what makes this job fun, and that's what makes following sports fun. For Montana State, there's also a whole bunch of – there's always a different way that every season could go for any team, no question. But this Montana State team, like, how do they shift their mindset as a program? They've had the same – sort of call to action, the same driving force. Like the number one call to action and driving force for Montana State football for the last 25 years has been beat the Grizz. Well, now that they have beat the Grizz more often than not over the last 25 years, and that also then helped propel them to new heights on a national level, then what? When you become the marked man, when you become the team that's chasing a dynasty, that's a totally different mentality than climbing to the top of the mountain, than getting to the place where, you can challenge North Dakota State. You've had somebody to chase. You have been the hunter for a really long time. Now you are the hunted, even though you are on the top of the food chain. You are the team that teams are going after now if you're MSU. So that's a distinct mentality change. Montana State's had a lot of turnover on their coaching staff. Montana, the narrative all spring long is the turnover on the coaching staff. It went from some of the staff to most of the staff in pretty short order. So just how they're adjusting the new coaches there in Missoula is certainly an interesting storyline. At Montana State, they've had so much turnover on their staff over the last 5 or 6 years under Brent Vigen, it's almost become sort of commonplace. And most of the hires that Vigen has made have been really good. So the transitions have been pretty darn seamless. Vigen talked about, we talked about a lot today, but here's just a couple snippets. He talked about those three factors: defending your championship and the mentality it takes, the coaching staff turnover, and his thoughts on some of the new coaches after their first day of spring practice here earlier this morning, and the defensive line and where it plays into for Montana State. There's just an excerpt from Brent Vigen this morning following spring football at Montana State University of Bozeman.
Really good numbers right now for spring. Doesn't mean we're not, some guys are still working through some things, but as far as having a real competitive, iron sharpens iron type of spring, it's shaping up that way. So we're really excited about, at the same time, the coaching staff, the continuity that we've been able to maintain there. Thinking about our offensive staff, almost in entirety going through things for a second time now. I think the value in that is significant. On defense, bringing Bobby back, really pretty seamless move, as far as the staff goes on that side. So one day in, and again, really like the way it looked and felt today, and we'll look at the film and then try to get better on Thursday.
Being in here and coming off the big win in Nashville, does it feel different, like a different sort of spring?
Well, I think being in here, and being able to go at 6:15 this morning, be out here, and it was a beautiful morning this morning. We probably could have survived outside, but that's not necessarily going to be the way it is. So being able to do things the way we want to, being able to schedule out our 15 practices and know that we're going to be able to be in here, and really staying in the mornings. Mornings, is when we choose to practice in the fall. So to have that similar rhythm here in the spring is what we're after. So, thankful to be in here, and we won't entirely be in here, but these early mornings we'll definitely get our start in here.
Coach, you mentioned the intensity for the first day. Any noticeable difference this year as the defending champs versus last year as coming in as the runner-up?
I think the biggest thing is I think this group continues to have that hunger. We've moved on from winning. I think that's been the message going back to the middle of January is, that's got to be in the rear view. It's want to appreciate the accomplishment for sure. It's been a long time coming, but we got to turn the page and we got to be as hungry as ever. So I think that's what you feel on a day one where you got a lot of excitement in the air. And I think if you ever lose that, no matter what your previous season was, you're going to be in trouble. So we have more things in place. I think that's probably the biggest thing compared to last year. There was a lot of turnover still, a lot of question marks. Doesn't mean we still don't have some, but a similar feel as far as just the pursuit of what we're after.
Anything with the new coaches that stood out so far?
Bringing James Price back, I think, has been a real positive. James has got a ton of energy, but he's a different coach than he was when he left here. And, he's had 2 years of experience now, 2 years of heading up that group. So I think he knows, much more who he is as a coach now, as opposed to when he left us. And just, look for him to really make an impact on that group. Been really pleased with Jordan Lee. Jordan's not Trent, but comes from a similar background that Trent Green came from, and I think he's fitting real well. And then Bobby is new, but not real new. So I think I will say that Bobby's a year away from us. He had to continue to evolve. They were really challenged last year defensively, and they generally played pretty good defense regardless of what the record was. So, and I think he just had to find out different ways to do things. So, I think those guys have fit in really well. It's the continuity piece has been really good so far.
Along those lines, defensive front, a bunch of new guys, losing the majority of the starters last year. Did it look kind of weird not seeing all those guys out there on the field today?
Yeah, there's a couple mainstays there. In particular, Kenny and Paul, in the time in their development in this program. Hunter the same way. I mean, those were fifth-year guys, and then Alec was a real productive guy for the 2 years he was here. So, yes, but at the same time, we played 9 guys last year. So, I don't know that all 9 would be seen as starters, but where Zach Cruz got and where Dom Solano got, and I think to some degree where Talon Marsh got, I think those guys, even Zach Black, I mean, those guys were in a pretty consistent role. So, what has to take shape is how do we become 8, 9, 10 again? And I do think we have the capabilities of that. Seth Brock was a guy that played some, really had an impactful year on special teams, and that's kind of been that step for our guys, whether it's been Brody, Kenny, Zach, Dom, even have that really impactful freshman year on special teams and take that step. On the inside, we need Hunter Charbonneau to keep, he's played, but keep taking a step. Josiah Swega, really impressive. And he was a guy that, had we needed to, we would have played as a true freshman. And we don't say that too often around here in the interior D-line. Hudson Ween. So, and that's not even the whole group. I think we have the potential to get to that place, but we're also replacing 2 guys in particular, and Kenny and Paul, that you're talking about mainstays for really 3-4 years. And that's not easy, but we got some guys that at least have that pedigree.
On the offensive side of the ball, losing Cedric and JP, anyone emerging to perhaps fill the void on the O-line?
Yeah, I think I'd say work in progress. I know that getting the best 5 out there and having some position flexibility is important. So I know Burke and Titan, as experienced guys, both provide that to some extent. Everett Carr, the first guy you point to. Everett started our first couple games last year and was the next guy up as we went through the season. We played with 5 for a long, long time, which doesn't typically happen that way. Aiden Kaplan, I think, has had a really good stretch here the last couple months to continue to do everything he can to put himself in a position to be the center. I think Dylan Rollins, or Ezekiel are older guys that have been in the program for a few years now that have been on the outside looking in, that I know we feel like are positioned to challenge. Tommy Nielsen, same thing. He's been in the program for some time. Young players, Nate Thornton Nate was right there early in the season last year to be considered to, again, get a red shirt pulled. So that speaks to what Nate showed us right out the gate last year. And Nate, we like him. Dalton Noble. There's a long list of guys that, again, what do we need to get to there? Ideally, it's 7 or 8 guys that we feel comfortable playing in a game. We're not there yet, but we got the guys to get there.
Brett Vegan from today's spring ball. I was chuckling. Nuanez Now, 102.9 ESPN Radio. I was chuckling because, and I'm not above this either. When you work in sports media, you work late nights a lot of times, right? And like compared to a normal day job, I get off this job about 6:15. Show gets done at 6. By the time I get done debriefing with the guys or whatever, leaving 6:15 or 6:30. Sometimes I got to do some voice work. But that's a heck of a lot earlier than most of my sports colleagues, because you got to think, right? Newspaper deadlines are at night, or at least they were for most of the history of newspapers. And TV guys, they're on the evening news 5:30, 6, 8, 9, 10, or whatever. Most of the time you're not getting done 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. So I was chuckling because most journalists I know are night owls, especially sports people, right? Because you just get in that. I mean, what time in the games you cover? Certainly football can be during the day. Sometimes track can, but most of the time you're going to games at 7 o'clock at night. So you're used to working nights, used to staying up late. Well, the Cats, because they have a new indoor practice facility, their spring ball practices started this morning at 6:15 a.m. I think that's a good strategy if you're the student athlete, because you can get the guys done with practice and then they don't have to worry about anything else. Go to school, get your recovery, get your rehab, get your nutrition, your hydration, all that. It's a good idea, just from a logistical standpoint. I was just chuckling because if you're a TV journalist, a TV news person in Bozeman, you're allowed to shoot the first 30 minutes of practice to get your B-roll for your story. That means those guys are having to show up at 6 o'clock in the morning, 6:15 in the morning. I bet you they're not used to getting up that early. Shoot, I get up early now because I have a kid, but I'm still not even used to getting up at 6. So, to get down there at 6, you got to get up at 5:30. So I was just having a chuckle, but forge forward, all of you journalists there in Bozeman. Spring ball will certainly be, I'm sure, a little bit of a challenge, but also think about it like the players. You're done with your day as it all starts getting rolling. A couple more thoughts here on the other side. Don't change the document right here, 102.9 ESPN Radio.
Bip.
Bring the whole family to the Stone of Accord for a wonderful brunch. From traditional comfort food to eclectic specials, there's something for everyone to enjoy. And it wouldn't be a proper Missoula brunch without an Irish coffee and a mimosa. The Stone of Accord, Irish fare with Montana flair, restaurant, liquor store, and casino. At the Stone of Accord, we use the freshest ingredients to create our homemade traditional Irish classics, fresh salads, and creative specials. Come enjoy our warm, family-friendly atmosphere. The Stone of Accord, Irish fare with Montana flair, restaurant, liquor store, and casino.
Access to Montana's great backyard is the best part of being a Grizzly. At the University of Montana, our classrooms are the mountain peaks, river valleys, and never-ending plains of the Big Sky Country. We provide students with the hands-on training to protect and enjoy hunting, conservation, and stewardship. UM launches the careers of outdoor leaders so that they can protect our traditions and ensure they are passed down for future generations. Because what's made in Montana is remaking the world.
Why would any business let you use their product and give you 365 days of reassurance? Mattress Firm does because they believe in their mattresses. Save on top brands like Nectar, Tempur-Pedic, Beautyrest, Serta, Stearns & Foster, and others. Mattress Firm carries $149 mattresses all the way up to the luxury Purple Rejuvenate Premier. 0% in payments as low as $39 a month, along with 365 days of reassurance. See why Mattress Firm is Montana's best place to find the sleep you deserve.
Mattress Firm, where it's easy to get a great night's sleep.
ESPN Missoula. Watch the show statewide on SWX Montana Television.
Welcome back. 1029 ESPN Radio, SWX Montana Television, and the ESPN MT app. Colter Nuanez coming to you through the Grizzly Disposal Studio. You missed anything in the show, you can always find it on the Nuanez Now podcast. Please rate, review, subscribe, all that good stuff. And we appreciate all of our fun guests today. We heard from Tommy Brown of Havre High School girls basketball. We heard from Taylor Cummings, Bozeman Gallatin girls basketball. We heard from Brent Deegan, Montana State football. We also talked some spring football. We talked some Lady Grizz roster overturn, not just the who, but the why. And we also had our Treasure State Stars featuring the latest inductees to the Montana Coaches Association Hall of Fame. Check it all out on the podcast. Tomorrow, we'll hear from Samuel Kim inside the FCS. We'll also have a live ESPN roundtable with Rajim Seabrook and the flag football team, at least a couple of the players from the new flag football team at the University of Montana. And we're going to record something with Madison O'Connor here in the next day or two. Future Montana State Bobcat from Baker to sort of continue to round out our state tournament coverage. Efforting, we got double A in the books. We have A in the books. I'm efforting Tyson Grovant of Lodgegrass. So hopefully we can track him down. And then Jeff Savers is going to take care of the Class C interviews for us. So always fun putting a bow on high school hoops season. The MEI Montana Elite Invitational selections were this last weekend. The Highland Invitational Tournament selections were this last weekend. So there's a lot of fun basketball news coming down the pipe in terms of all-star games that are coming your way as well. We'll give you an update on the women's tournament in the NCAA tomorrow, too, because that has been, as expected when it comes to how chalky it's been. We'll see you at 4 p.m. tomorrow. Nuanez Now, 1029 ESPN Radio.